Good evening. Do you hear me well on the back? Yes, awesome. I'll try to speak louder. My name is Daniel Rankov, and I'm an AWS community hero. I also manage a very small consulting company named Several Clouds. And I'll share some experience around securing hundreds of AWS accounts. So what is the use case of having multiple AWS accounts? We see multiple clients using that, let's say they're a SaaS vendor. They create a new AWS account per each of the accounts or customers that they have. That's what brings separation in these accounts. Many companies choose to use separate AWS accounts to have dev stage prod environments, and some of them go with cases like have an account per microservice. We even see some extreme cases where having an account per microservice, but then again having dev stage prod environment per this microservice in a separate AWS account. So we can observe that AWS accounts growing. So how do we manage these hundreds of accounts? So first, what is an AWS account? Just a very quick reminder here. That's what gives the complete separation of resources between clients. Now I'm going to share some experience over one of the clients that we are helping. We are currently managing around 140 accounts in about 40 organizational units. So all of what I'm going to tell you is based on the practice. Moving on, usually a company starts with one AWS account. They tend to like it. They create a separate, so now we have dev and production. Then it happens that we need dev stage and production environment. So that's kind of the first steps. Now we have 3 accounts. What do we do? Many companies also choose to have a dedicated CI/CD account there, right, to build the software. Maybe the factory is also there. So now that we have 4 accounts, how do we manage them? AWS, of course, have that AWS organizations. And the very first question that we have is, okay, how do we manage the cost? And the organization gives us exactly this. It does the consolidated billing so that in organizations we would see all of the cost of each and every of the accounts that we have. We can set budget alarms if we want to. We can use the cost explorer, right? That all helps us to see the cost on each of these accounts. And the next question would be, now that we have 5 accounts, how do we do identity and access management? Right, do we create a user per account? That's maybe way too much. And AWS have introduced the service which is the IAM Identity Center. Now, that would allow us to create and manage groups, users, integrations with third-party single sign-on providers as well. We can also, in Identity Center, we can enforce MFAs if we want to. Okay, we can manage the groups, the users, the permissions, and then if we want to integrate it with our workspaces, or if we want to integrate with Entra ID, well, that can happen through SAML, so that we really can have and achieve this single sign-on solution on AWS. Extremely convenient service, and I guess the most of you are already using it, and if you're not, please take a look. The next thing that happens, now that we have more accounts, we tend to like it even more. Many companies choose to create sandbox accounts for the people that they work there, so that they create even more accounts, okay, kind of as a sandbox. Let's practice somewhere, let's play somewhere before we go to staging and production. Now we have more and more accounts, and for each of these accounts, as they grow, we would like to enable CloudTrail so that we monitor all of the log files and all the APIs that are happening on these accounts. We would like to have config, right, so that we monitor the configuration status of each of the resources. We would like to enable Security Hub and Guard Duty probably and Inspector to improve our security posture. And is there a service that can help us out with that? And yes, AWS Control Tower streamlines and helps us to manage this multi-account structure for us. What it does is it first gives us this landing zone. We can create new accounts. We can set VPCs if we want to, predefined VPCs if we want to, as part of this account creation. Okay, we can configure controls or guardrails across the whole organization. That's what Control Tower also gives us, to apply preventive control mechanisms. And there is a dashboard, so we can see what's the status of each of these. Control Tower is fairly simple to set up. It's a very thin layer that allows us to manage all these multi-accounts. And if we take a look, what it does is, the first thing that we can do is to enable region deny. So if we're only using 2 regions, maybe we don't want to enable all of the 33 currently supported regions with AWS. Maybe we want to limit only, and in this example, we're using Ireland and Frankfurt and North Virginia, but all the other regions would be denied, okay, so that we enable very easily the region deny setting. We can also enable CloudTrail, and we can put encryption on top of it with custom KMS keys, so that we now can have, no matter how huge our organization is, we can have the CloudTrail log files sent to a central AWS account, and the CloudTrail in the member accounts cannot be stopped. Even root cannot stop the CloudTrail, which is extremely powerful service. And then also Control Tower integrates with Identity Center, so that we achieve that single sign-on solution. What else do we have with Control Tower? Customizations, okay? We can create our own customizations on top of Control Tower. We can detect drifts if this happens, and then we can also apply CloudFormation stack sets, which is a very powerful service if we want to execute CloudFormation across a subsection or per OU or per account that we have. But then we can also monitor the drift if such happens. And there are multiple services that also integrate with the AWS organizations. If we want to manage multiple accounts in AWS, and we would like to set a predefined backup policy, okay, well, we can use the AWS backup with policies on top of it to do that. CloudTrail and Config, we already mentioned. GuardDuty and Security Hub will speak about them in a minute. But then also AWS Health. We can monitor the public service health, but then we can monitor all of the internal health messages that we receive from the whole organization. Okay, so if AWS are going to stop an EC2 instance, okay, we will receive that in the health dashboard in the organization account, and that might lead to a notification if we want to. And that eases, definitely eases the whole organization of hundreds of accounts. Okay, now Control Tower. When we use Control Tower, it by default creates 2 more accounts for us. 2 more accounts. One of them is the so-called walk archive accounts. All the CloudTrail walk files by default go to a dedicated AWS account in an S3 bucket. Maybe we want to put there also our CloudFront, AOB, API Gateway, S3 access walk files as well. Now we have a centralized logging account, okay, so that even if one of the member accounts gets hacked or is somebody tries to do something on it, we have all of the walk files into a dedicated account. They're already, all of the walk files, all of the API calls are already shipped to the walk archive, so we can do our forensics in the right way. Okay, that's very powerful, and they have walk file validation. Okay, they have integrity checks, so that's also powerful service. Let me focus on the audit account. That's where we usually enable more services when it comes to AWS. These are Security Hub and GuardDuty. Now, what is the huge benefit of Security Hub, GuardDuty, and Inspector? First, they all support the so-called delegated administrator account, so that they don't have to be managed in the organizational account. You can delegate them to another account. And in our case, we do that in the audit account. Now, Security Hub can be enabled for the whole organization. And AWS announced on the last re:Invent the so-called centralized configuration. Now you have one single central place that you can enable controls, okay, across the whole organization, and nobody within the member account can stop this control. Okay, they cannot disable it. That's very powerful. Okay, and we can apply different policies based on the OUs that we choose. Very powerful service. And also we can have the aggregation of all of the findings into one single central place. Okay, so that we can observe for all the regions, for all of the AWS accounts within our organization, all of the findings, S3 buckets not encrypted, EC2 instances public, RDS being public, and all that. We can see that in a single pane of glass. That's about the Security Hub. If you're not using it, I would definitely recommend. It's a relatively cheap, very cheap service, and it brings that whole visibility around your security posture. So very good service. Then GuardDuty is the intelligent threat detection service, like IDS system that AWS has. It would, by design, audit your VPC flow logs, IAM, access patterns, Route 53 access patterns. But then I would like to only focus on one thing here, and it's being developed. More and more sub-services of GuardDuty are being enabled, okay? But we can see here, we have the EKS protection, ECS protection, RDS protection, but one of my favorite here is the malware protection. It can scan your EC2 instances, okay, by doing snapshots of the instance. So you do not need an agent. You don't need to install an agent on the instance to scan it, okay? It will do a snapshot. It will scan your instance, okay? That can be done either by event or you can trigger it manually, okay? Which is extremely powerful. One example is one of example that we had is that a mail server which was stopped EC2 instance. Well, GuardDuty malware protection detected that there is a vulnerability in there, that there is a malware because somebody sent a malware over email. Okay, that think about it. It will scan also your stopped instances, not just the running instances, the stopped instances as well. So some people can consider that a fairly slow scanning process. It might be a little bit slower than agent-based, but it's very holistic. You don't need to install anything on your instances, okay? You have them scanned. That's a very holistic approach. And AWS Inspector. Okay, Inspector can also scan your Lambda functions, Elastic Container Registries, EC2 instances. Now this is agent-based scanning. It can scan that for vulnerabilities. And again, this can be enabled at organizational level so that for all of the accounts that you have, every container registry will be scanned and reported back to Security Hub. This is how we enable security scanning at scale. Okay, moving on. One of my favorite things about organizations is the AWS config advanced queries. So AWS config aggregates all of the config of your hundreds of accounts or thousands of accounts, all of the config information for every resource that you have, and puts that into a central place. And then you receive a SQL-like query language so that you can ask whatever you want to. It's extremely powerful service. Now, this is the example around SQL that scans for public, for EC2 instances with public IPs. But you can now very easily scan for public databases, not encrypted DynamoDBs. Even now you can scan for like all of the load balancers that have a listener with a specific with a specific cipher suite, okay? So that if you have still listeners with TOS 1.0 with maybe outdated cipher suites, well, now you can just run one query and bring that visibility, have that all visibility at, in seconds. That's extremely powerful. I'm in love with that service. And just a note here, you should know that the advanced queries does not support yet all of the resources that otherwise config supports. So that you will see configuration of config resources, but you cannot query it. It's an ongoing process, but it's extremely powerful. Okay, and then how do we manage our EC2 instances at scale? The systems manager would also allow us a way and provide a set of services so we can do that. Let me review them, just a few of them. There are more, but I would like to focus on the most interesting ones. So the session manager. A session manager eliminates the need for you to handle SSH keys. You no longer need an SSH key to log into your instance. A systems manager is an agent-based solution. It comes already pre-installed on the latest AMIs, so you don't need to install it yourself. You should put an IAM role, have the network connectivity to the SM service itself, but then you can connect, okay, with your credentials of Identity Center, you can connect to your EC2 instance. You can receive a virtual terminal, emulated terminal in the browser, or if you're using your CLI, you can connect just to your EC2 instance by using the Identity Center service. Extremely powerful. You no longer need SSH keys for the whole organization. No need to rotate them, no need to open port 22, okay? You don't need bastion hosts anymore. The session manager also supports port forwarding, okay? So that if you want to connect to an RDS instance, you can do a port forwarding on the instance that you are connecting to, and you have access to your RDS on the back. Extremely powerful. Every command that has been written here will be walked either to CloudWatch logs or an S3 bucket. It's going to be encrypted. You can put an idle configuration for the session so that it can be disabled, so the session will close afterwards. Fleet Manager, it has multiple functions, but one of them is an RDP access to your Windows instances, okay? Like the Session Manager for SSH. With Fleet Manager, you can have an emulated in the browser RDP session. You can change even the resolution and more. And you continue to use your Identity Center credentials, okay? Very, very powerful in terms of centralizing the access management to your EC2 instances. The distributor is a service that allows us to install packages across our fleet. So if we, let's say, choose to use an external third-party monitoring system, we choose to use, let's say, Datadog, we want to distribute their agent everywhere on no matter the instance type, operating system, and all that. Well, distributor can help us install that on our full fleet. That's very, very powerful. Inventory. The systems manager inventory gathers all of the installed packages on every EC2 instance. And by design, the inventory works per account. But also, AWS provides a guide on how to integrate all of this inventory into a single central account. In the beginning, it might seem a little bit complex. It uses glue jobs, synchronization, a Tina on top of it. But then, again, you can have that every installed package on every EC2 instance in your organization, you can check for it on a single central place. And you can even write custom scripts so that it finds custom packages. Let's say you want to find a Walk4j package. Okay, well, you can do that, right? That's a very easy way for you to aggregate all of the packages in your whole fleet, and then query it. Very, very powerful service. Patch Manager also works by design per account, okay? But then the Explorer service can aggregate all of the data of the Patch Manager so that it shows you your posture in terms of patched instances, or actually not patched instances. And then you can deep dive per AMI and per instance ID. And the Explorer will work for your whole organization. So very powerful service. And then the last one that we're going to review is the quick setup of Systems Manager. Fairly easy to be set up. It's just through the console. There are just 3 clicks that you have to do, and it will update your Systems Manager every 2 weeks, collect inventory, and then scan your instances for patches. Extremely simple to be set up. With that, I would like to thank you and wish you a good evening. Thank you.